Being honest with you, sometimes I think we underestimate how much what we do, how much they affect our kids or the people around us. Yes, you can tell your children, don't be rude, don't steal, don't do this and don't do that. But if you're doing those things yourself, then it becomes really difficult for them to apply what you're asking them to do. Let's say, for instance, you tell your friends, watch what friends you keep. Don't make friends with people who do A, B, C, D, or E. And then you have friends who do exactly the same thing. But maybe your excuse is, I'm an adult, I'm able to make a difference between the good and the bad, or that I'm able to compartmentalize my relationships, which means I'm able to say, okay, it's okay for me to have a friend who does this because I understand them, and so I can kind of put a wall around that kind of relationship. And that you have another friend who, even though she's rude, but she does this for me, so I can be friends with them. And we think we can do that and get away with it. But what I have found with time is that you can't. I have friends, and I know many people who have friends like that. And we have conversations, and I say, I can't believe that you accept this or you tolerate this. And they'll say, oh, well, the reason why I have that friend is because of A, B, C, D, E. But if you're telling your friends to be mindful, if you're telling your kids to be mindful of who their friends are, and you are not being mindful of who your friends are, then it's going to be really difficult. I don't like tattoos, for instance. I don't think my kids should have a tattoo. And so if I have a friend who has a tattoo, that becomes a problem, because I can say to them, well, or if they come to me and say, oh, I'm thinking of getting a tattoo, normally they wouldn't come to me to ask me that because they know how I feel about it. But I think that if I have a friend who is tattooed from head to toe, it becomes really difficult for me to say, no, I don't agree with you tattooing yourself. Because then they will say, well, your friend Mary is tattooed all over the place. And so why are you keeping such friends, or why don't you say anything about her tattooing? And you can't say, well, she's an adult, she can do whatever she wants. Well, maybe you can say that, but I think it's much easier if you are mindful of that. It's almost like saying to your children, getting drunk is wrong, or getting drunk can get you into a lot of problems. And then you have that friend who drinks too much. They come to your home and they consume a lot of alcohol. And you can see that they're drunk. And your kids can see that that person is drunk. Then how do you explain to them that being drunk is wrong when they see you with a friend who is drunk whenever they come to the house? It's really difficult. And what am I getting at? What I'm getting at is we need to be mindful of situations or friends or things that we say that might jeopardize or might kind of render what we think or what we're trying to apply or what we're trying to impact on the kids difficult, because we have friends who do those things. And yes, in as much as they're adults, we don't have any control over them. They can do whatever they want. I think we need to be mindful too. The other thing I think also are things that we do directly. I know that things have changed and people can go out at night and stay out the whole night. I understand that, and I understand that nowadays that is nothing. And our kids have lived in places where in the night time is almost like daytime. I remember once I saw my daughter on the transit in Boston, and it was 1:30 a.m. And I remember thinking, what on earth is she doing outside at this time of the day? But in that city, kids are up at all hours, and it's a college city, it's a college town. So it's not unusual for children to be out and about through the night, which I understand. But my point is that if you're trying to say to them, watch when you go out at night, when you go out at nights, things can happen that might not necessarily happen during the day. If there's a shooting, for instance, most shootings take place at night. And in as much as, yes, you may not be directly involved, but Do you know how many people who have been killed because of stray bullets? It could be anyone, to be honest. And it doesn't have to be anything that is directly to do with you. You could just be the unlucky person who happens to be walking by when this happens. And then, on the other hand, you go out and you come home really late. Or you go to a party. It could be a family party. We know how that goes. And you come back at 2 a.m. in the morning, 2 a.m., and you don't think there's anything wrong with it because you're an adult, you're a parent, and so it's okay for you to do that. Sometimes I just find that it's difficult to put your foot down in situations like that to your kids when they can see that you're doing things that you're telling them not to do. Another example is your expenses. As I've said before, I am not into labels or designer labels and whatnot, so I don't buy them. I don't have any particular attraction to them. I don't find them useful. I don't find them of value necessarily. I feel that some people who buy them just buy them because they want to add some value to themselves. And so they think wearing such labels improves or that it adds value to them. I don't think that, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong in my summation. But if you're trying to teach your children, be mindful of your expenses. Don't spend too much money because kids can spend a lot of money, and then you buy expensive products, you buy expensive clothes, you buy expensive shoes. And sometimes when they ask for certain things, you say, well, that's too much money, or I can't afford it at the moment. But then you just spent, almost $1,000 on a pair of shoes or a purse. Yes, it might be your money. Maybe you're making the money and you think that you deserve it. But it's really difficult when you try to tell your children that those expenses are a waste when you do the same. And you can't say, well, because I can afford it, it's okay for me to do, but you cannot. Because what I feel what you're doing is actually sowing a seed of doing that, of that kind of labeling, that kind of identity. You're sowing it and they can see it. And so you can't turn around and say, you can't do that. These are just what I think. Share with me if you feel the same way, or if you think it's okay to make a difference between your life and maybe the life that you think your children should live. Let me know in the comment section what you think. And until the next video, I'll see you soon. Goodbye.